take a second to learn a little bit about the victims of that terroristic act in Buffalo. This is 32-year-old Roberta Drury. Roberta's from Syracuse, but she had recently come to Buffalo to care for her brother who had just received a bone marrow transplant. This is 68-year-old Deacon Haywood. Deacon Haywood would transport those without cars to the grocery store every day. This is 65-year-old Celestine Cheney. She was a breast cancer survivor and grandmother of 7. This is 86-year-old Ruth Whitfield. She had just left the nursing home where she was caring for her husband. This is 77-year-old Pearlie Young. She ran a food pantry for 25 years, feeding people in Central Park every Saturday. This is 72-year-old civil rights legend and journalist Catherine "Cat" Massey. She was a community organizer for decades and educated others about gun violence.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me for Conversations with Taz. As we already did, let's jump right into it. Coming from USA Today, Buffalo suspected gunman was kicked out of top store the night before rampage. What we know about shooting. A civil rights advocate, a deacon, and a heroic security guard were among 10 people killed in an apparent racism driven rampage by an 18-year-old suspected gunman who had been kicked out of the store the previous night and had taunted police online. Among the victims identified by Buffalo police were a retired member of the force working security who was hailed as a hero for trying to stop the gunman at the Tops Friendly Market store. The victims' ages ranged from 32 to 86 years old. Most were black. The suspect is white. The suspect was identified by authorities as Peyton Gendron, 18, of Conklin, New York, about 200 miles east of Buffalo. Gendron Gendron would have continued his rampage if he had not been stopped by officers outside the store. Buffalo Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia told ABC News on Monday. We have uncovered information that if he escaped the supermarket, he had planned to continue his attack. Gramaglia told ABC News. He had plans to continue driving down Jefferson Avenue to shoot more black people, possibly to go to another store or location. Gendron posted threats on the social I'm sorry. Gendron posted threats on the social media platform Discord about body armor and guns, and last month made provocative remarks about federal law enforcement, the Associated Press reported after getting a recording of a call in which the FBI agent in charge for Buffalo, Stephen Bolongia, made that statement. 2 months before the shooting, Gendron was casing the same top supermarket when he was confronted by a security guard, the Washington Post reported. Before we go on to other clips and other articles about other shootings that happened this week, in all fairness, because I did discuss this previously. I do have to update you all from complex.com. Kevin Samuels' funeral expenses GoFundMe was reportedly launched by Imposter Family Declines Money, an online fundraiser purporting to be raising funeral related money following the death of Kevin Samuels has received a great deal of attention in recent days. According to a new report, however, the page in question was launched by an alleged imposter, and this was reported by TMZ. And before we continue to deep dive into the Buffalo situation, also this weekend, coming from AOL.com, California shooting suspect identified as Las Vegas man. Authorities on Monday identified the suspect in Sunday's California church shooting as David Chow, 68, of Las Vegas, and booked him on one felony count of murder and 5 felony counts of attempted murder, the Orange County Sheriff's Office said. The gunman opened fire in a Southern California church during a lunch banquet on Sunday, killing one person and wounding 5, before churchgoers detained him and tied his legs with an electrical cord. 4 men of Asian descent, my apologies, aged 66 to 92, and an 86-year-old woman of Asian descent were injured at the Geneva Presbyterian Church in Laguna Woods, about 40 miles, 64 kilometers southeast of Los Angeles, and taken to hospitals for treatment, the Orange County Sheriff's Department said. And for those of you that want to keep telling people like me that racism is dead, that we're the ones making everything about race, that we're ridiculous for being afraid to leave our houses, that we're ridiculous for being afraid for our children and our parents and our friends. Tell me that now. And if you didn't catch Tastastic Tuesdays, the audio podcast, it's the video right before this. And all of you white women that tried to gaslight us women of color into fighting for you after you voted for centuries against your own rights. This is why we said we're sitting this one out, because we've been telling you what this means. This is going to be a hard night, but we're going to get through it. Let's go to the next video.
Ivermectin's hidden cost. New studies.
Because a mentally ill teenager murdered strangers, you cannot be allowed to express your political views out loud. That's what they're telling you. That's what they've wanted to tell you for a long time. But Saturday's massacre gives them a pretext, a justification.
Tucker Carlson, you have a lot of fucking nerve. He quoted you and what you and your entertainment network has been spewing for quite a while. You have been putting out that white men are oppressed, that white people are becoming the minority. That's what got into his head. That's why he did what he did. But let's keep it moving.
Because a mentally ill teenager murdered strangers, you cannot be allowed to express your political views out loud.
We have confirmation of another mass shooting, this time in Houston, Texas, at a flea market. 2 individuals have been killed and another 3 have been injured. This comes mere hours after a mass shooting occurred in a church in California, and 1 day after 10 were killed in Buffalo, New York, at a supermarket.
And it's amazing that they can plan these things. And if you think this wasn't planned and coordinated, I got a 2-legged horse on swampland in the middle of Denver, Colorado to sell to you. And you heard Tucker Carlson already attribute this to mental illness. This wasn't a mental breakdown. These incidences are well thought out. I read you an article where it stated this young man was thrown out of one store multiple times. They are targeting where there's going to be a large saturation of Black people. So my people of color, especially my Black brothers and sisters, if you have a regular schedule, think, is there a large concentration of minorities when I go? If so, break up your routine. I used to joke about the day and time my mother went to the grocery store, and now I understand why she went at that day and time. Because nobody suspected a woman of color going at that time where we lived. Find the off times, but still keep your head on the swivel.
So it has just been revealed that the 18-year-old man who live-streamed himself on Twitch shooting 10 people yesterday wrote a chilling 180-page manifesto. In the documents, he said that he was driven to kill by the Great Replacement Theory, which claims whites are being deliberately outnumbered in the US by migrants in order to skew elections in favor of the Democrats. The shooter, named Peyton Gendron, said that he'd chosen the upstate New York supermarket because it sat in the zip code 14208, which he said had the highest Black percentage that is close to where I live. He drove 3 hours to get there. The document also detailed his hatred of Blacks, Jews, leftists, and transgender people. And just to make things even sadder, he said in his manifesto that he'd been radicalized entirely by the internet rather than people he'd met in real life. He has entered a plea of not guilty and is scheduled to return to court in 3 days, but I'll make sure to keep you updated as soon as they are available.
The theory that he noted in his over 100-page manifesto, Google is free, fact check me. He got that from Fox News and specifically Tucker Carlson. So if we can charge drug dealers with murder or manslaughter because of the death of drug abusers, why can't we charge Tucker Carlson right now? Oh, that's right. Because white people are all identified as individuals and the rest of us are just a monolith. That's right. I forgot. My bad.
Where exactly is all this criminal white supremacy, this right-wing domestic terrorism that poses, quote, the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland? Or is it? Well, of course, it doesn't exist.
A man has just been arraigned on charges connected to a deadly mass shooting. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron is accused of opening fire inside of a supermarket, killing 10 people. Officials now saying that they're investigating the shooting as a hate crime.
Police say he was wearing body armor and military-style clothing when he pulled up to Tops Friendly Market and opened fire, first in the parking lot and then inside of the store.
White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax. Just like the Russia hoax, it's a conspiracy theory used to divide the country and keep a hold on power. That's exactly what's going on.
He reportedly had the N-word written or etched on one of his weapons. And police say he posted a manifesto online filled with white supremacist ideology.
A white man can get on a nationally syndicated show and incite violence, but I can't even get on a social media platform and defend myself against racism. And every day they have a new excuse, a new way of trying to gaslight the rest of us. And that's not even the saddest part. The saddest part are the black and brown individuals that latch onto it. But we're going to keep peeling back the layers. We are going to continue to peel back the layers. From SpectrumNews1.com. Oops. Ex-neighbor, California church shooting suspect's life unraveled after he was nearly beaten to death several years ago. So that's what we're doing now? Because if that's the case, black people and indigenous people to North America, we should be able to take to the streets and beat the fuck out of everybody and unalive everybody. And y'all give us the same excuses. Is this what we're doing now? This weekend started a full-on war against non-white people. But y'all still want to push down our throat that racism is dead. And that black women specifically need to stand at the front of the line because they're about to overturn Roe v. Wade. And even those of y'all that don't give a damn about abortion, but give a damn about HIPAA, give a damn about your privacy, you still want us to fight for you. And because we set a boundary, excuse me, you want to gaslight the... That's what we're not... But let's keep going.
So let me get this straight. 75-year-old woman with dementia holding a knife that doesn't speak English gets killed by cops for not following orders of putting the knife down, even though she wasn't coming at them. 2 teenage boys steal Pokemon cards and a frozen pizza from a Target, get in the car with their friends, and are bum rushed by 4 unmarked police cars. Get shot, all of them maimed, one of them killed for not following orders. 18-year-old white nationalist with a manifesto about killing minorities kills 10 people in a grocery store 2 hours away from where he lives, gets talked out of committing suicide, goes away unharmed. This is the American policing system over and over and over again. Minorities getting gunned down for petty crimes while white nationalists get taken in unharmed for killing multiple people. Fuck the United States of America.
My question at this point is, what restaurant did they take him to? Because I'm pretty sure they asked him if he was hungry. What do you want to eat? And we know He wasn't giving Popeyes or KFC or Cane's or Bojangles. Was he taken to Burger King as well? Was he? And coming from NBCnews.com, Fox News' Tucker Carlson under fresh scrutiny after Buffalo mass shooting. The incendiary cable news host has drawn criticism for promoting the Great Replacement theory. Told y'all, because that was all through the Buffalo shooters' manifesto. Ideas apparently espoused by the suspect in the Buffalo shooting. Jesus, are you finally listening? Are you finally gonna fix some shit? No, we know you're not. I was just playing. Fox News personality. See how they called him Fox News personality, not anchor, not reporter. Pay attention. Fox News personality Tucker Carlson is facing intense scrutiny from extremism experts, media watchdogs, and progressive activists who say there's a link between the top-rated host's Great Replacement rhetoric and the apparent mindset of the suspect in the weekend's deadly rampage in Buffalo, New York. The white suspect accused of killing 10 people. Oh, he did. Let's stop saying accused. He live streamed it. This is an open and shut fucking case. Let's stop saying alleged and accused. He did it. He gave us the proof that he did it. But I digress. And wounding 3 others Saturday at a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood, apparently wrote a manifesto espousing the white supremacist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, elements of which Carlson has pushed on his weeknight show. The theory baselessly holds that a cabal of Jewish people and Democratic elites are plotting to replace white Americans with people of color through immigration policies, higher birth rates, and other social transformations. The idea circulated on the far right fringes before moving to the mainstream of conservative media. Tucker Carlson has made comments that directly reference this conspiracy theory on his show, said Michael Edison Hayden, a spokesman for the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that tracks white supremacy, hate groups, and extremism. The rhetoric that he espouses finds its origins in white supremacist literature, Hayden went on to say, citing examples of websites and other publications popular with white supremacists. He added that Carlson stopped short of naming Jewish people as the orchestrators of the replacement, instead using more general terms such as the elite. And the fact that he uses the word elite and white supremacists automatically think black people, what we have been saying for generations, they are now letting the quiet part out. They feel inferior to us. That's why they keep trying to convince us that they are the superior race, because they know that they are the genetic mutations of society. But let's go to this month's ad. And we'll delve into the rest of this after this ad. I'll see you in 2 and 2.
It looks like you lost another one.
mess, now we coming for you. We coming for you. We coming for you. Call up your mess, now we coming for you.
Yeah, you saw that correctly. Once again, a minor, just like Kyle Rittenhouse and other white minors across the country, are gifted or allowed to purchase weapons. And for those of you all that go, no, Kyle Rittenhouse was an exception, nobody but I have witnessed firsthand white people knowing that their relatives legally cannot possess a firearm, and they will go and purchase that firearm for that family member, register it to them, and allow it to go home to them. But you know what the one caveat is? They teach these relatives to put on gloves to load the gun. If you are just using it for protection, why do you have a problem with your fingerprints being on it? Because if it's to protect your home, to protect your person, to protect your family, you're going to call the cops anyway. The cops are going to know that you're the one that pew-pewed. Why do you need to conceal your fingerprints? Rewind that and play that back again for yourself. And like I said, I've watched this happen in real life. And here's a caveat that a lot of people are missing, especially regarding the Buffalo shooting. Because every other shooting that happened this weekend, it came after the Buffalo shooting. It's like boom, boom, boom. There are sleeper cells around this country of these domestic white terrorists. But they're not going to give it the same attention and the same vigor if it was a black or brown person, but I digress. We know that. But why was he allowed to complain on social media about the length of time it took for him to get a gun? Why was he allowed to buy military grade body armor? He had a bulletproof helmet. He had a the security officer that he exchanged gunfire with did not stand a chance. Because I don't care how good of a shot you are at the range, when you're being shot at, that's a whole different circumstance than you standing at a paper target going pew, 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 and you get to line up your sight and take your time and, oh yeah, I can. But coming from the Associated Press, Arizona State Senator slammed for Buffalo shooting comments. Coming out of Phoenix, the Arizona Senate on Monday opened an ethics investigation into a firebrand Republican member who tweeted inflammatory comments about last weekend's racist attack at Buffalo, New York supermarket that left 10 people dead. The referral senator, Wendy Rogers of Flagstaff, to the ethics committee was in lieu of the immediate expulsion the Democratic lawmakers were planning. GOP Majority Leader Rick Gray said, due process considerations require no less than an ethics investigation, he said. But Democrats were furious, noting that Rogers was just censured in March for a repeated series of tweets and statements that embraced white nationalism and called for violence. How surprising. A white woman wanting people that are not white women or white men to be killed. Oh, how original. Oh, that's right. Y'all don't know the true history of the United States. No, I digress. Despite a bipartisan 24-3 vote on the Republican plan to open an ethics committee review that could lead to an expulsion, censure, or reprimand, Democrats failed to get any Republicans to back their motion to expel Rogers. Of course not. They agree with her. And there are some that are willing to throw other members of the GOP under the bus so they can say what they say and they still get the money from the lobbyists. And y'all know how this goes. On Saturday, as news of the mass shooting by a white suspect who had posted a racist screed on the internet and driven about 200 miles, 322 kilometers, to a primarily black neighborhood in Buffalo, Rogers tweeted, "Fed Boy Summer has started in Buffalo." What I want to say, I know I cannot say here because I cannot risk another community guidelines violation. This channel isn't even monetized. It's not about that. I have this conversation with y'all later on Instagram. Let's go to the next video. I never bite my tongue, but I have to on this one because what I want to say, I know my whole channel, my whole profile will be banned, and we gonna keep it pushing.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I told y'all this was targeted. This is just the beginning. Please, please, my melanated brothers and sisters, my melanated elders, my melanated legacies, please keep your head on the swivel and be conscious. Shop the perimeter. And I'm saying this for a reason. I'm not trying to count your pockets. But if need be, you can move that milk out the way and push them babies into the freezer, into the back, and you can crawl in there as well. And you can get out through there. If need be, you can hide in the bathroom and barricade that. Just let's keep going.
So I saw the video, I stumbled upon it on Twitter, and don't worry, I would never show anything like that on here. But the one part that kind of stuck with me the most is as the shooter is moving through the store, he finds a white man who's like hiding behind a checkout aisle. And the white man says, "Oh no." He screams out, "Oh no." And the shooter says, "Oh, sorry," and keeps moving. And I don't know, that part's like really etched in my head for some reason.
So everybody that has tried to gaslight black people for the past couple of days, like, why do you all have to bring up race in this? Between his manifesto, the fact that he had the word nigga painted on the barrel of his rifle, and he was specifically targeting phenotypically black people. Miss me with the bullshit. Y'all love to go, I don't see color. Racism is dead. No. You just have never had to live a life where you have to have certain conversations with your children, where your parents haven't had to have certain conversations with you, where you haven't had to assimilate into culture. You haven't had to have your culture stolen and appropriated from you. You haven't been told that you don't belong. That's why you feel so entitled to every fucking thing. But let's Keep it moving.
Racially motivated hate crime. Former FBI investigator Bill Daley joins us now. Bill, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Will.
I would assume, a ton of evidence available for the investigation this morning. A live stream, a manifesto. What are law enforcement investigators doing as we speak?
Well, what they're speaking about, Will, right now is to go off and find out how this individual was so radically motivated to this evil ideology.
Anti-white racism is exploding across the country. White men, they're the problem. They hate white men more than they hate global warming. Those white men, Raytheon said, must, quote, step aside for a minority. As soon as we get rid of all these white men, everything will be great. White backlash, white resistance, white. Evil, cruel, and bigoted. So shut up, white man.
God ain't never made no motherfuckers crazy as the white boys. We've been known to fight, boys. Sign off our shotguns, rocking camo, causing problems late at night, boys. White boys.
There's nothing more I can add. I already told y'all.
Racially motivated hate crime. Former FBI investigator Bill Daley joined.
This here is Quadri Sanders. I'm not sure why people aren't talking about this, but police shot this man 12 times while he was complying with their orders. I'm not even joking. They told him to put his hands up. He did. They shot him 4 times. After he hit the floor, they told him to put his hands up again. And they shot an additional 11 times, hitting him 12 times total. Some of his final words: I'm down, I'm sorry, I'm down, I'm sorry. Mind you, he was unarmed. And what makes it worse, those officers killed him December 5th, 2021. They were only charged after the video came out May 6th. And I think they were charged on the 10th. So not only did they kill him, but they attempted to cover it up and act like nothing ever happened. Also, both the officers arrested, both came out on bond. Justice for Mr. Sanders.
This man didn't have a weapon. This man wasn't killing anybody. This man was not posing a threat. He has no more birthdays, no more holidays, no more special days, no more any days with his family. But over the weekend, the Black and brown people were targeted. And their murderers, mass murderers, were talked out of suicide, were brought in unscathed, not a mark on anybody, no brutality. So I guess police training only adheres to the complexion for protection, right? And once again, y'all think that we are being dramatic and we're bringing grace into everything and we shouldn't be afraid to leave our houses. There's a young lady. We have never spoken personally. Before my main account on TikTok was banned, we were mutuals. I have followed all of their Instagram accounts because they keep being taken down. Crystal Crave. When I heard about what took place in Houston, my first inclination was, let me go to her page. Let me see when was the last time she posted. Because I remembered her making a reference to living in Houston. I didn't know I don't know to this day if she still lives in Houston. And even on my TikTok page, there was an incident that happened at IHOP. A white man was going berserk. All the white people in the restaurant just kept eating. But the black men stood up, ready to protect everybody in that restaurant. They were not. But white supremacists will try to throw in our face, well, your black men are dying because of you. Your black men are at home because of you. Your black men are getting locked up because of you. Because of you. And I experienced this personally. I have a United Nations worth of family. But I get called not shit and a fucking deadbeat when I lose sleep and maneuver all sorts of things to make things happen for my children. And my children now range from next month, the youngest will be 21, and in August, my oldest will be 28. I have 4 fucking children that I gave birth to, on top of the other children that I have unofficially adopted and taken in and take care of and give my whole heart to. But the motherfuckers who call me a goddamn deadbeat don't show up to shit. But get praised and get all sorts of excuses tossed their way. Guess what they look like? Let's keep it moving.
I watched the Buffalo Shooters video yesterday, and I encourage anyone else who has notions of being the good guy with a gun to go and watch it as well. Because his first victim didn't even get to finish turning her head before a round was put through it. His next 6 victims were killed within seconds, well before they would have ever had a chance to raise a gun. Think I'm wrong? Go and watch that video. 2 stumbled back after watching woman being executed. They would have never had time to get up and raise a weapon before he put bullets in them.
Thoughts and prayers. That's all they ever offer. They don't ever offer solutions. They offer solutions to nothing. And they are culpable in what happened in Buffalo this weekend. I mean, it's pretty apparent. Look at the manifesto. Yeah, he was mentally ill. He was mentally ill because of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because of people like Tucker Carlson. It's always blame somebody for your problems. I mean, that's how Donald Trump won. That's how he won in 2016. And that's still part of their narrative right now. This whole America First movement. Where are they putting the blame for this country? People of color. That's it. This is their fault. The blood is on their hands.
First of all, let's stop. Let's stop with this bullshit narrative. He was not fucking mentally ill. If you go and research, it's online, his manifesto. He tells you specifically his transition from where he was to where he is. That's not mental fucking illness. Stop. Stop going, oh, he's a teenager. No. Because Tamir Rice was 12 years old and y'all called him a grown man on the news in his death while he was doing what other children did and play with a, let me be John Wayne. Pew, 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 pew. I thought y'all loved John Wayne. I thought y'all wanted every kid to emulate John Wayne. Oh, only if they're complexion for protection. Stop with this. Oh, he was mentally. No. I suffer from mental illness. There are days I cannot get up out of my bed. I literally can't move. There are days I have to force myself and push myself because I have a business to run. Actually, multiple businesses to run. I have a family to take care of. Even though they're grown, they are still dependent upon me. I have siblings that are dependent on me. I have aunts and uncles that are dependent on me. I got a daddy that's dependent on me. Yeah. And if you are from a black or brown family, you know where I'm coming from. And even this weekend, when I got overwhelmed, I was told, oh, the ancestors are looking down on you. Mom and Granny are looking down on you. You have to be strong. And even when I say it, why do I have to keep sucking it up? Why don't you have these conversations with the people who are being disrespectful? It was doubled down onto me. You got to represent them. You got to hold it down for them. Do you think if I would have snapped this weekend, anybody would have given a damn that I suffer from mental illness? Do you think that would have been a headline? Do you think anybody would have put that in a video or post or anything? No. I would have been painted as a middle-aged, deadbeat, black welfare mother just because of how I look. And if my allergies would not have been kicking my ass for the past week and a half and I had all of my piercings in, ain't no telling how they would have wrote the headline. They would have judged me just from being black, tatted, and pierced. They wouldn't have gave a fuck about anything else. They wouldn't have gave a fuck about cause and effect, nothing. He was radicalized because of what he was watching on TV and what he was geared to search for on the internet. It was apparent that he only watched Fox News. So, of course, he went down the QAnon, Breitbart, Newsmax rabbit hole. So, once again, like I said earlier in this podcast, if a drug dealer can be charged with your murder, if you as an addict go to them and purchase drugs and die because they were the catalyst, how come the catalyst for white domestic terrorists can't be charged? Let's keep going.
Monday night, and here's what happened. Good news first. Abbott, the maker of like all the baby formula, has reached a deal with health regulators to reopen a facility, and they will have products back on the shelf within the month. Little more good news. The CEO of Snapchat paid all of the student loans for the graduating class of the...
Yeah, that's great. That lets you know what paid reporters are doing on their social media platforms. After this.
Hey there, this is a very disturbing update on the shooting that occurred at a Buffalo...
Wait.
Hey there, this is a very disturbing update on the shooting that occurred at a Buffalo, New York supermarket earlier today. 13 people were shot, 10 were killed by 18-year-old Peyton Gendron from Conklin, New York. He arrived at the store in heavy tactical gear, including a bulletproof vest and helmet. He also left a manifesto behind with the reasons why he lost.
But this same person told us to find the beauty and joy in life and take a deep breath. Oh, the privilege. But let me show you why this Buffalo massacre was as horrendous as it was. But I'm going to remove myself because I want y'all to focus solely on this video. See you in 2 and 2.
Letitia, if you're there, thank you for joining us. It's my understanding that you were working inside of the Tops Market. I believe you were an assistant manager there. Can you walk us through what you saw this afternoon?
I didn't really see much at all. I just heard the gunshots and just dropped down to the ground and just waited for him to stop. And he just wouldn't stop. So I tried to call 911 and I was whispering because I could hear him close by. And when I whispered on the phone to 911, the dispatcher would start yelling at me saying, "Why are you whispering? You don't have to whisper." And I'm trying to tell her, like, "Ma'am, he's in the store. He's shooting as an active shooter. I'm scared for my life." And she said something crazy to me and then she hung up in my face. And I had to call my boyfriend and tell him to call 911.
Well, that is certainly unfortunate, Letitia. Let me ask you,
Given the amount of circumstances where one would have to whisper to a 911 operator, let me repeat that. given all the circumstances in which someone would have to whisper to a 911 operator, and she hung up on this young lady. We have no idea how many lives would have been saved if that dispatcher would have listened. But you know what? This is what we go through every day. With law enforcement, with medical professionals, hell, with the general public. I'm going to cut my cam and rapid fire through the rest of these videos and then just give you my commentary on them at the end. See you in a bit.
I hear the FBI is having an investigation to determine whether or not the Buffalo, New York shooter, Mr. Peyton Gendron, actually committed a hate crime. And I'm going to help the FBI out. I'm going to do the entire investigation right now, and I have 4 critical pieces of evidence. Exhibit A. This was a planned, methodical attack. In fact, he specifically went to this specific store knowing that there'd be a ton of black people there on a Saturday. And not only that, he drove over 3 hours. Exhibit B. The end of his barrel, I don't know if you see that, is the N-word. He painted that on there. Exhibit C. When in front of a white person about to shoot him, he actually pauses and says sorry. And I'm going to play the clip for you, so watch him. Sorry. Exhibit D, last but not least, he watched us struggle cars and he released a manifesto talking about how he's a white supremacist and all that other stuff. So yes, FBI, that's my investigation. Case closed.
Males especially are not fully formed. Is there a possibility that there was some kind of mental illness that triggered this?
Although his brain may not have been fully formed, at 18 his brain was fully formed enough to pick up a weapon and drive to Buffalo. His brain was fully formed enough to put his finger on a trigger. His brain was fully formed enough to point at people, at women, at anybody who was in his path. His brain was fully formed.
There's an aspect of this Buffalo shooting that nobody's talking about. Maybe it's because I create content that I've noticed this. So the way algorithm work, there has to be people that set the standard, right? They say this is a violation, this isn't a violation, and then eventually the algorithm picks up on that. It's typically why you have a lot of black content creators who speak about things like white supremacy always getting banned. Now, y'all may have noticed when white people say very racist, horrible things to black content creators on here, if you try to report it, there's no violation. But if we respond to those racist things, immediately hate speech, bullying, all these things. Now there's this black man on Twitch who live streams when he plays games. He stated how it was interesting how people could call him the N-word and nothing happens, but if he sneezed, the COVID warning popped up immediately. So Twitch has the ability to catch a sneeze within a split second, but the death of 10 black people by the hands of a white supremacist was able to be live streamed uninterrupted. But if I talk about white supremacy, my streams get shut down for hate speech.
Well, before all of this, myself and 2 other people that I know, we deactivated our Twitch accounts. And the whole COVID thing, yeah, I was just like, why do you have this? Like, nobody can, even if I'm sitting here and I am COVID positive, I'm over the internet. Who's going to catch COVID from me over the internet? And who am I going to catch COVID from over the internet? And people could say all sorts of things to us. We could say something as simple as stop it. That's not cool. Guidelines violation. Guidelines violation. So you can catch, and what really gets me are the people who sat there and watched and said and did nothing. The people who didn't call 911, the people who just clicked on, realized what was going on, and stayed there. The people who egged him on. This young man sat down, not only created a manifesto of over 100 pages, also openly talked about it across multiple social media platforms. So when we Black and brown creators, when we women creators tell you that the algorithm is fucked up, that these social media platforms are willing to perpetuate harm to people, and you go, no, that I don't see any proof of this. This is your ultimate proof that as long as you're spewing hate, they'll keep your shit up. They'll push it out to the masses. They will promote it to the ends of time. Why? Because it's profitable to hate on especially Black people and especially women. And if you can combine Black and woman, whoo, baby, you've hit the jackpot. It's also why there are grown-ass men right now getting Kevin Samuels tattoos. But that's a conversation for another day. For those of you all that have been able to go through this entire journey with me, thank you. Those that have been able to partially go through this, thank you. Tomorrow, we will have different topics to discuss, like I said. And the promo video for this that was on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. This is the one and only time I'm going to discuss this. This was draining enough. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Till tomorrow. Be blessed. Be safe. And just know, you will always have well more than my thoughts and prayers. Because I'm not forgiving anybody should anything happen to any of you. Till next time.